5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Break through the busiest time of year with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. With real-time guidance and endless ways to move, you can personalize your workouts and train with confidence, helping you reach your goals in less time. Let yourself run, lift, sculpt, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with me, Kevin Day, and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire, finding new ways to make me laugh as he counts me in. That's very musical, a bit like, for older listeners, Andre Previn, the conductor, counting me in there, Kieran. It's lovely. How are you?
I'm very good. I've just done a show with Jamie Carragher and Wayne Rooney.
Oh.
So that was quite good fun. Wazza, as we know, now is show. We've been in the green room together, that was quite intriguing. I made the mistake of saying to my new mate Wazza, saying, I used to be the manager of Derby. I was the whistleblower at Derby, and he gave me a look.
Oh, really?
He gave me a look, a stern look.
Right. Okay, well, if we're playing showbiz top trumps, I've just got off the phone to the director of Midsummer Murders, who who asked if I'd be interested in doing a show with Shane Ritchie. There you are. So I think
superb.
You win. Does Wayne Rooney still have his central casting agent? Is it Paul Stretford?
Paul Stretford, yes.
Yeah.
Fan of the show.
Yeah, he's
been and he's read our book. Yeah,
has he?
Loves it. Yeah.
He's been Wayne Rooney's agent right from the start.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
He'd be interesting to talk to about how things have changed. So,
yeah,
obviously,
we will endeavour to get him on the show.
We should do, but it indicates as well somehow the sort of familial nature of that someone can have with an agent, how close the relationship can be right through their career. You know, because there must have been a lot of people during Wayne Rooney's career, and even now probably trying to lure him away, offering him, we'll take less of a cut, we'll get you more of this. But he's stayed with with Paul Stretford. It's interesting to know. Do you know what he comes across? I've never met Wayne Rooney, but I've never met anyone who's got a bad word to say about him, and he comes across as perfectly affable. He's turning into a good pundit, I think. I have to say.
Yes, and when Derby County went into administration, joking aside from what I was saying earlier. I was advising some of the members of staff at Derby in terms of their rights when a company goes into administration, and the consensus was that the chief executive of Derby didn't want to know the staff. The administrators were fairly sniffy towards them. Mel Morris couldn't give a toss. The only person that ever stood up for them and tried to and treated them as human beings was Wayne Rooney.
It's good to know. I should probably apologise in advance to Derby fans, because when you put your little summary of the agenda out on social media, Derby will be the first story, and they'll be panicking again like the old days. Maybe we should put Derby brackets nice story, and that would cheer. I just feel for Sheffield Wednesday fans who listen to this pod. They must look at your tweet every Thursday morning from behind the sofa, I imagine. It's Newsday, Kieran. We've got a lot of stories. None of them huge, but all of them potentially quite significant. The first one is good news for Derby fans. This is good news for Fulham fans, who I know from experience have been getting quite annoyed at us banging on about the £100 ticket. Well, they need worry no more, Fulham fans, because there's another London club who've trumped them to an extent.
That's right. Arsenal are having a hold my beer moment. And I don't know what the position is at Palace. At Brighton, you've got Category A, Category 2, Category 3, or A, B, C opposition, and things are priced accordingly. And you understand where the club is in the pecking order. I know at Manchester United, they tend to just have one price because, hey, look, you come and see Manchester United. But Arsenal have just introduced a new tier of pricing for next season, and this is, I think it's the A plus or the A triple plus or something similar. And for general admission tickets, it's going to be what is it, £138, £158 for a ticket. Now they say this will only apply should Arsenal make the quarter-final or the semi-final of the Champions League. And I'm going, well, hold on. They're getting £15 million in prize money just for turning up for those matches. So why are you nickel and diming? And it's more than nickel and diming the fan base. I think this is very much on the back of what we've seen from the FIFA World Cup for 2026, where fans are not seen as fans; they are seen as wallets on the hoof, and let's try and extract as much cash from them as possible. If you're a regular Arsenal fan and you've probably been to 4 or 5 home matches already, you've been to 4 or 5 away matches, you followed the team. If Arsenal get to the quarter-final or the semi-final, absolutely fantastic. Fans don't mind paying a bit of a premium, but this does seem to have gone beyond the realms of common sense. Or is it further evidence that the regular fans have ceased to be useful to football clubs, and they are, that's my gut reaction. Arsenal fans, if the club gets the quarterfinal or the semi-final, they first of all they deserve to have first refusal, but they deserve to have first refusal at a price which is reasonable because as we know, they'll pay it.
It's two things about that. I mean, firstly, at Palace, all 4 stands are pretty basic. I mean, they're all built between 1923 and 1994, so there's not that much scope for a massive price differential between them, to be perfectly honest. Plus, unlike Arsenal, us qualifying for quarterfinals, semi-finals is a more rare event. Not as rare as you, but still more rare than Arsenal. But interesting, I was at a funeral yesterday. The mum of my oldest friend, who is a very important part of my life. I was talking to a young lad there who works in the ticket office at Arsenal, way down the pay scale from those people who decide what price the tickets actually are. But he was just saying the fact is, one of the reasons the women's football sells so well is partly women's football is very good and very popular. But also because Arsenal as a global brand is so successful, and the waiting list for season tickets for the men's game is so long that people will go to the women's game just to get into the ground, just to see a team in the Arsenal kit. So when a club knows that it's got that, the demand is much greater than the supply, then of course economically that's what they're going to do. But as you say, for us older fans, us legacy fans, it doesn't seem right. You can't help thinking it will be pricing some Arsenal fans out. On the other hand, I'm sure some Arsenal fans will say they were priced out long ago. So this is all they're doing now is pricing out the new middle class Arsenal fans as well.
Season ticket prices start at about £1,200-1,300.
Dude, they start at that?
Yeah. That's what I'm reading here on the BBC website. So
wow, okay,
it is. So it's gone up by 3.9%, and it's just scary. It's
this conversation, Kieran, makes our next news story even more baffling because it's about the money that Premier League's distributing to clubs falling.
Yes, so. the Premier League is a strange beast. Sometimes you'll be as part of a round robin email to say this is what we've done, and so thanks very much. And if we've got any queries, they're actually pretty good at answering queries. So, but this one sneaked out a few months ago, and what they've done is that they've shown the total distribution to clubs in season 24-25. Now, the money from international rights has gone up. The money from central marketing, because you've now got Barclays as the official banking partner, that's gone up. But the money from the domestic deals appears to have gone down. But I was thinking about this and so first of all, the Premier League brings in money from those sources, then it deducts its overheads. And of course, its overheads include legal costs. So, how much were the Premier League's legal costs last year? One is what one fears to think. But overall, the money going to all of the clubs is down by £15 million. Now, okay, it's less than £1 million per club, so it's not huge. But clubs are now expecting, to get more money because some of the international TV deals are being renewed on a season-by-season basis, and that is bringing in additional revenues. But the money from the domestic deals is flatlining, and I think this is a sign that clubs are saying, right, we're not getting any more money from TV domestically. We'll come on to that there is more than Premier League broadcast income in a story in just a minute. So therefore, they feel it legitimizes their opportunity to target the fans who do turn in, week in, week out. And as you rightly said, Kevin, Arsenal can get away with it because demand does exceed supply. Whether that's morally and ethically the right thing to do for those Arsenal fans who have watched them through thick and thin, have been following them home and away, the attitude of the club executives appears to be, thanks for all your support. Here's some tourists. They're likely to spend more money than you are.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kieran, as you're so good at the financial stuff, let me deal with the moral and ethical stuff. And let me say that the answer to that question is no, it's not right. Morally and ethically, it's really not right. Because we've been married so long and you're living in my head rent-free at the moment, you've answered the question. I thought it's going to be a really clever question for Kieran. He's going to be really impressed the amount of thought I've put into this. Some thought. You're going to be really impressed at the fact I put some thought. So I was going to ask you whether this slight decrease in the money going to Premier League clubs was due to the legal fees. If, as you say, that might be the case, that legal fees are taking up some of the club's money, would this indicate that the Premier League clubs sooner rather than later are going to get really, really cross if the Man City thing drags on any further, and which it is going to do, because they might go, okay, we've only lost £800,000. If this time next year they're losing £3 million because that's one place in the Premier League. That's, to any club, that's a substantial amount of money, isn't it?
That's right, and somebody did leak to us the Premier League's legal costs. Now, we don't know whether this was legitimate or not, but it came from a source who I've described as not one that normally does things just to take the mickey. And on the basis of this, I think the Premier League's legal costs in 2021 were around about 6 million, and they'd gone up to about 45 by 24-25. So that is an extra £2 million per club. It could also be that the Premier League's wage bill itself has increased. It might have taken on more members of staff. We've got higher rates of national insurance and pension contributions and so on. So it could be that broadly all of the overheads are going up, but I think legal costs is one area which is very sensitive. And we've spoken to people, and not from Brighton and not from Palace. Let's be perfectly honest. We're not dipping in anybody here who have said we would rather that the Manchester City thing had never taken place. Simply because it didn't affect us. It only affects 4 or 5 clubs in terms of, they potentially could have been, they will claim that they've been denied a trophy or a qualification to the Champions League, and to spread those costs evenly between all 20 clubs has not gone down particularly well.
Yeah. It may come as some surprise to new listeners, Kieran, to hear that you saying that broadcasting income to the Premier League has flatlined. But they needn't worry. There's still plenty of money in the Premier League, Kieran. And just in the last few days, the Premier League have been advised how they could make even more money.
That's right. And I mentioned that the Premier League has these sort of core partners. And for anybody that ever watches I was about to say European Cup, the Champions League, you've got those sort of 6 or 7, get your tyres from such and such, and you've got your official beer partner and so on. And the Premier League, by all accounts, now clearly this has been leaked to somebody in the media, has gone to the clubs and says, well, presently we have 7 key partners. We want to increase this to 10, and we believe that this will be worth potentially an extra £750 million. Now, that £750 million would not be split evenly 20 ways, is my understanding. Oh. So again, what we're getting now is sort of a 2-tier Premier League, in the sense that the middle class clubs and the newly promoted clubs will probably say, well, 750 million, even if I get 1/25th of that, that's still 30 million or 20 million, whatever it's going to be. And that's significant for us. But the opposition to this is coming from the Super League 6, the Sneaky 6, however we want to describe them, because they fear if the Premier League has an official banking partner or an official jewellery partner, this might have a conflict with some of their personal sponsors. And if you take a look at some of the senior clubs, they will have perhaps 20, 25 major sponsors for individual industries. You'll have your official tractor tyre partner and your soft drinks partner and your snack partner and so on. And I think there's a fear amongst those clubs that if the Premier League goes down that route of expanding its roster as far as commercial partners is concerned, could that put the squeeze on the big clubs themselves? So how this is going to be resolved and whether we're going to get a 100% buy-in to this, we will wait and see. We will find out, because there seems to be what I politely describe as very good lines of communication between some of the senior journalists and people at individual clubs. In terms of, historically, every vote used to be 20-0 or 20-0 from a Premier League chief executive's point of view, and there has certainly been a fracturing of that unanimity in recent votes, as evidenced by what we saw with the replacement of PSR with SCR, which only just scraped through on a 14-6 majority. So I'll be honest, I'd expect Brighton and Crystal Palace and Brentford and Bournemouth and Wolves and West Ham to vote in favour of this. Equally, I can understand why Manchester United and Liverpool, Manchester City and so on would vote against. Everybody does what's best for their clubs, and that's right and proper. Let's not pretend that football is a philanthropic industry. But I think it's a chance for more conflict.
Yeah, a lot of the adverts in Champions League football pass me by, Kieran, because I can't drive and I can't drink non-alcoholic lager. I say can't, I won't in the second one. It's always nice, Kieran, to have a little trip around Europe, and that's what we're going to do now. We've got a couple of European stories. It's especially nice to have a trip around Europe while the Winter Olympics is going on.
Yes,
which I've been thoroughly enjoying. I love the scenery, and like many middle-aged men in this country, I've become an armchair expert on sports that I will never ever attempt. To the extent of watching the skeleton the other night and me going, he's got that line wrong. What's he done? What's he doing? Oh, he seems to have broken the world record by 0.3 of a second. It's been fantastic. I love the Winter Olympics. It's really, I'm confused by a lot of this. I prefer my sports to be fastest or highest, but so I'm confused by a lot of the judging going on. But it's been, I've enjoyed it so much. I really have. And the BBC coverage has been tremendous. John Hunt, who would have thought that somebody could commentate on the skeleton and bring it along? It's fantastic. But the Premier League are making money. Luckily, it seems, Kieran, our friends at UEFA are doing the same thing, judging by last year's competitions.
Yes, and the importance of qualifying for European competition, especially the Champions League, has never been greater. Last year, UEFA paid out £3.4 billion to clubs. That's an extra £400 million.
Wow.
10% of that is going in what we call solidarity payments. So that's for clubs that don't qualify to get into Europe. It's sort of, okay, it's crumbs from the table. It goes out to so many clubs, but it's better than nothing. We've even seen significant payouts as far as the Nations League is concerned. Because if you're Andorra, €750,000 is sizable. So for England, who made a little bit more progress, got 3 million, it probably won't make a big difference. But it is good to see the smaller nations benefiting from it. But as I was saying earlier, the Champions League is where it's at. And that's why we're seeing such a bun fight between the clubs who are realistically chasing 5 positions. Last season, Arsenal made €117 million. This is from UEFA alone. So wow. This is why I say, well, hold on, Arsenal. If you're making 117 million by getting to the semi-final, why are you now turning around and charging 140 quid for a ticket for the fans to watch? You're having your cake and you're eating it, and then you're going back for second helpings. Manchester City, who were knocked out in the round of 16, they got 76 million. These are big, big sums. If you drop to the Europa League, effectively, it works out for every pound you get in the Champions League, you get 22 pence in the Europa League, and you got 11 pence in the Europa Conference. So Spurs made €41 million for winning the Europa League, but of course that also meant that they qualified for the Champions League. Chelsea, who won the conference, and they won the conference in a canter, they made €22 million, which is what, £19 million. But by the time you subtract the costs of attending matches, as far as Chelsea was concerned, the additional wear and tear, because they had to have 2 squads, and they did have 2 squads, they probably didn't make any money on a net basis at all. And certainly, again, in conversations that we've had with clubs who have European aspirations, the Europa Conference is now seen as one club executive said to me, it's great for the fans. It's seen as a bit of a disaster from the boardroom point of view, because you take into consideration you're playing twice a week, so therefore the squad on a Sunday isn't as fit as you'd like them to be. You're likely to fall further down the Premier League than you had the previous season, which will have a negative impact on your activities. And for the commercial department, trying to sell boxes when you've got Albania's second best team coming to you on a Thursday night, you're not going to be getting big monies for that either.
There's quite a few Palace fans were going straight from the funeral yesterday to the airport to get to Bosnia. They didn't seem that excited about the Conference League, I have to say, Kieran. I think they would rather have a slightly nearer trip.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Your little one grew 3 inches overnight. Adorable. Also, expensive. Sell their pint-sized pieces on Depop and list them in minutes with no selling fees. Because somewhere, A dad refuses to pay full price for the clothes his kids will outgrow tomorrow, and he's ready to buy your son's entire wardrobe right now. Consider your future growth spurt budget secured. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste. Payment processing fees and boosting fees still apply. See website for details.
I always like there to be a takeaway for our listeners on this pod, Kieran. If it's not always football, but I'm going to channel my inner Susie Dent now from Countdown and explain that expression. You want to have your cake and eat it is ludicrous. It makes no sense until you realise what it originally meant. Is you want to eat your cake and have it, which means you want to eat your cake and still have your cake.
Yes,
which makes much more sense. But it's turned around. Yeah. So there you go. There's a little something to throw in next time you're in the pub with the Baroness and you famously run out of things to say. That's what you can...
tends to be quite quick with me.
As you say, though, Kieran, with European football finances, there are winners and losers. There's a really interesting article on the BBC website this week about how the Champions League has completely skewered football finances for smaller clubs. So the team, for example, who has won the league in Bulgaria in the last 12 years, I think, running, it's got no chance of winning the Champions League. Steaua Bucharest have got no chance of winning the Champions League as they did. So in a way, yes, they are getting money from solidarity payments, which is great. But it also means you've got a competition, much like the Premier League, where 98% of the teams taking part in it can't win it, which is not brilliant, is it really?
It's not. And again, you and I are old enough to remember Ajax winning the European Cup 3 years in a row, Steaua Bucharest winning it. And my knowledge of European geography was to a large extent set by working out where these countries were, where these clubs played, and so on. And as a kid growing up, it was part, I wouldn't say it's part of your birthright as a football fan, but it was part of the discussions that you had. If you take a look now, I think they said over the course of about the last 8 years or so, there's only been one instance where a club outside of the big four leagues has even made it to the semi-finals, let alone the final. And that was Ajax a few years ago. So what we are seeing is that it becomes, from the perspective of the big clubs, it becomes a virtuous circle. All of this money that you're making at the top end of the Champions League gets recycled into being able to recruit the best players in Europe, who, of course, are then going to get you to the final ends of the Champions League the following season. So if you are the national champions of Bulgaria or Denmark, the best thing that you can hope for is getting into a knockout phase for the Champions League and being one of the teams in the 36 who will get a few points. And it's great. We've had our friends from Bodo Glimt on the show, when they beat Manchester City, I was absolutely not because I've got an issue against Manchester City. I just think it's great for football that these results can take place. But overall, especially when the more fixtures you've got in the Champions League Swiss model system, the more likely it is that the bigger clubs are going to make that additional progress, because the one-offs get eliminated and have a far lower impact on the positions of the final table are concerned. So it does become same old. But as far as the broadcasters are concerned, they're perfectly happy because the eyeballs tend to go along to the big clubs. And that delivers for broadcasters, it delivers for sponsors and so on.
There are two things off the back of that, Kieran. One historical and one very, very contemporary. First of all, I was thinking the last couple of days about Nottingham Forest's second year in the European Cup, because they won it. So that meant two English teams were going into the European Cup. Second time, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool. And they were drawn against each other in the first round. Yeah. Which nowadays simply wouldn't be allowed to happen. Right? And it made it much more exciting back then. Of course it did. But nowadays, the finances of football are such that Liverpool and Forest would be saying, we can't possibly be allowed to go out of any tournament in Europe this early. And secondly, I watched. I had to go to sleep after coming back from the funeral because I was knackered myself. But I woke up and watched Galatasaray play Juventus. Fantastic game of football in which Galatasaray beat Juventus 5-2. And the co-commentator, who's an expert in Italian football, said the Italian press are going to go mad. This is an embarrassment. It's a humiliation. And I was thinking, hey, when you've lost to Galatasaray, one of traditionally Europe's biggest teams, one of the most hostile environments to play in. So I thought I would check this morning the Italian media response, and he was absolutely right. This has brought shame. It's almost overshadowed the Winter Olympics. It's brought shame. But it's incredible that it's become that the European competitions have simply become a vehicle for the biggest teams. Essentially, and I can't really see any way around that except the one consolation is that one European project is finally over.
Yes, and I know that you're not a fan of Monty Python, so I will resist all opportunities to do the parrot sketch here.
You can do it. I'll just stare at you blankly until you finish it, basically.
The European Super League project has finally ended with Real Madrid. And this is a classic case of people wanting to save face. Because we've just been talking about Juventus. Juventus dropped out a couple of years ago, leaving only Barcelona and Real Madrid. Barcelona dropped out. In fact, we think we covered that particular story just over a week ago.
We did, yeah.
Which when we were saying at the time, so what exactly are Real Madrid going to do? Well, this was very much a vehicle of Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid president. So it has been released in the sense that there has now been an agreement between UEFA and Real Madrid that Real Madrid are no longer going to pursue, or rather, there's going to be some sort of settlement between UEFA. And UEFA are keeping very tight-lipped about this. Does this mean that there's going to be a compensation payment? We don't know. But there's now been a sort of a formal withdrawal from Real Madrid for this particular project. I will once again try to get burnt from A22, who were the organisers. We're not hot. We are always friendly to everybody that comes on the show, and we want to find out more from the perspective of the organisers. But then you have to go, I would say, that's the what, what's the why? So why have Real Madrid withdrawn? Why have they dropped their legal claim? It does come down to the politics. The Real Madrid are not in the European football clubs, the EFC organisation. It looks like they're going to rejoin that. They dropped out of that in 2021. I think this will be seen as a victory for Alexander Ceferin in terms of standing up to Super League. And then sort of you're picking up one or two stories that Ceferin's been the president for three evolutions. You get voted on, and you're supposed to only be allowed to be the president for three. But word reaches my ear that there could possibly be a way around it. That he could go for another reappointment, and if he's able to say to all of the clubs in Europe, we've got Real Madrid are back with us, the threat of Super League is gone, look at how much money we're distributing to you. You could get rid of me, but I'm the good guy in all of this. Yeah. And this could leave him with the position of president because the Super League doesn't exist, but all of the concessions that the Super League clubs were wanting, that they would have been there as a right from Super League, have effectively been obtained in the sense that we now have a competition where there are more home matches. There's now a competition where the odds are very much stacked in favour of the bigger clubs. And I absolutely appreciate that Real Madrid having to go through the playoffs, and they'd rather have gone through as a matter of right. But even so, even under Super League proposals, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Again, they would have had to win more matches. And there is greater impact of utilising new people to generate higher TV revenues and higher commercial revenues. So you put all of those factors together, and the big clubs have got exactly what they've wanted. They're going to qualify for Super League domestically anyway, because the Champions League gives them so much money. Is that you know who are going to be the top three and the top four. It's slightly more complicated in the Premier League, but even so, we've now got a fifth position. And this year, of course, we've got 6 clubs qualifying for the Champions League because Spurs won the Europa League last season. So they've got practically everything they've wanted without formally having to create this beast, so they can pretend to be the good guys.
I want to come back to that point just in a moment, Kieran. But firstly, and I generally, this is a genuine question. I'm not attempting to be funny here, but when you say compensation's being paid, who's paying the compensation to who? Because as far as I'm concerned, it should be Real Madrid paying UEFA, but I'm suspecting it's UEFA possibly bunging Real Madrid a few quid to go away here. Is that right?
Well, Real Madrid will say that they have incurred costs connected to Super League and they will want compensation for that. They will say that they've incurred legal costs because they feel that being denied access to organise their own competition is against European competition law. And our friend of the show, Nick DeMarco, always says that mediation and compensation is a lot cheaper and a lot less hassle than litigation. So sometimes you hold your nose and you agree a payment because in the bigger picture, you might be slightly better off from doing so.
I mean, pardon my language at this point, Kieran. I'll try not to swear on this show. That's fucking bonkers. So basically, Real Madrid are saying it's cost us a lot of money to try and disrupt your league forever, and we need that money back to stop. It's just, well, this is why this pod exists. So we should just take a deep breath and say, well, I wouldn't have anything to do on a Wednesday afternoon if the world of football finance was a sensible one. And secondly, I think I know the answer to this already. You talked about the fact that the Super League project is officially over. I know just a couple of months ago, I said to you when we were out together, it might be dying as a Super League, but it will come back. It will come back in a couple of years' time under another guise. But you weren't so sure about it. You're fairly confident that this, for the next foreseeable future, the idea of a breakaway league has disappeared.
Yeah, I honestly think that the elite clubs in Europe are on such a good number,
right,
with UEFA at the helm. And if something goes wrong, they can just blame UEFA. Whereas if it's their own competition and if something screws up, then it becomes a bit more internal. That the drivers of a breakaway competition aren't really there because Champions League has delivered everything that they were originally seeking, which was higher revenues, more matches against glamorous opposition, which means that they can charge the higher prices, as we've seen from Arsenal. And you put all of that together, and actually the gap that exists between the elite and the mid classes is getting bigger by the year. So that prevents the likes of another Newcastle, so another Manchester City or Chelsea or PSG being a disruptor. You got those cost control rules in. We're quite happy. The next thing they probably will be trying to target is player costs, and we'll wait to see developments on that. But I think the players and their representatives have probably got a stronger hand.
I'm aware, Kieran, that fans of other clubs will probably think us Palace fans are obsessed with John Textor, and that there's nothing about John Textor to interest them. And I do agree that in recent weeks, when the WhatsApp groups would ping at 6:30 in the morning, because I'm learning that every single WhatsApp group is someone who gets up much earlier than everybody else. There's always somebody who's up at 6:15 in the morning. On our WhatsApp group, it's you. Right, you never seem to sleep. But on the Palace WhatsApp groups, always 6:00 in the morning, someone's pinging, and you wake up and you think, oh my God, which player have we lost now? And it's all right, John Textor's nosed up again. That's great. But the amount of money involved in that John Textor's either trying to get his hands on, or other people are trying to get away from John Textor, is huge, and it's global. And it's been another twist this week that involves millions of euro, Kieran.
Yes. I think if John Textor had another career, he would be in a circus spinning plates. And as for anybody that's been to see the clowns in a circus spinning plates, they're actually incredibly good at doing it, but eventually things start to go wrong. And again, you've got to give a lot of credit to some of our journalist friends who have kept on digging away as far as Textor is concerned. So yes, there is an American fund. I've forgotten their name offhand, but they lent John Textor €425 million to buy Olympique Lyonnais in 2022, and they don't seem to have got all of that money back. I think some Sheffield Wednesday fans recently were saying, "Oh yeah, we've heard and what Textor will do is not dissimilar to certain politicians. They won't rule things in or rule things out, but they will keep a conversation, because what Textor is doing is a classic strategy of sort of deny, divert, deflect, discredit. In terms of his relationships with other clubs. If there's a negative story, he will set the hairs in motion. Oh, John Textor might do this. And when Textor sold his share in Crystal Palace, Wednesday fans, when the club went into it, Textor's got money. I'm going, no, that money has already been allocated for some of his other activities. So it looks as if the aim is to remove Textor from control positions, to try to crystallise his finances, because he is shifting the pieces around the board all the time. Does he have money? Yes, but where is that money, and how much is that money is his, and how much of that money is coming from third parties? That never seems to be particularly clear.
Yeah, they want €250 million back, and they want to remove him from control of Olympique Lyonnais. And let's not get into the whole Europa League, Europa Conference fiasco here, Kieran. But it does prove, as you've been saying increasingly recently, that when fans get excited, as they say, we've been taken over by an investment group, they're pumping loads of money into it, they want it back. And they only lent John Textor this money in 2022, and they want it back now. And I'm sure the contract is about 30 years long. I'm sure the contract would baffle me. You'd probably have Nick DeMarco scratching his head sometimes. But within that contract, there will have been all sorts of clauses that say if we don't get our money back by this time, we want it back completely. And that's the risk, isn't it, when you start playing with these people at that level?
You're absolutely right. In investment funds, private equity, they are very good at what they set out to do, which is to make money on behalf of their clients. Do they give a damn about football? No. And they will say, well, why should we? We don't give a damn about car manufacturing. We don't give a damn about airlines. We are there to look after the finances of our clients. That's what we're being paid for. That's what we're experienced at. And when you move into an industry, or if you get involved in an industry such as football, which is as emotionally driven as it is fiscally driven, there can be problems. And John Textor is great copy, by the way. He is. He is highly entertaining, and he does keep us all going. And as for the WhatsApp groups, I got the accounts of Burton Albion at 2:00 in the morning through my. It's not a WhatsApp group. It's through my company's house ping. So last night I spent summarising Burton Albion's accounts because I couldn't get back to sleep. I said I just can't leave these numbers alone.
It's good to know that company's house go 24/7, isn't it?
Yes.
that there's always a light. There's always a light burning in Company's House. It's reassuring to know. It's like 221B Baker Street. Sherlock Holmes is always there somehow. And I pause here only to say that clowns may be good at spinning plates, Kieran. What they're not good at is being funny. So they need to find a different name. They really need to call themselves something different. I once had the privilege of being shown around the museum. You know, clowns have to trademark their face makeup.
They do.
No two clowns have the same makeup. So they paint their makeup on eggs. So there's a huge collection of eggs with the trademark face part of each clown going way back. And I was shown this museum, and it was fascinating. But I had to resist the temptation to go, none of these eggs are funny. None of them. None of them ever made anyone laugh.
We heard you. 9 years of Bring Back the Snack Wrap, and you've won. But maybe you should have asked for more. Say hello to the Hot Honey Snack Wrap. Now you've really won. Go to McDonald's and get it while you can.
I didn't even realize I was wasting $415 a month until I downloaded Rocket Money. I thought I had my finances under control until the app laid out all my spending and categorized it for me. Takeout, shopping, and unused subscriptions were quietly draining my account. And as a result, my savings took a back seat. But Rocket Money doesn't just tell you what you're wasting money on. It takes action to save you money. First, the app looks at your income and monthly expenses and calculates how much you can safely spend each day to stay under budget. Rocket Money also finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions for you and even negotiates better rates on your bills so you have more money in your pocket. On average, Rocket Money members can save up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Users love the app with over 186,000 five-star ratings. It's time to simplify your finances and take control of your money. Go to rocketmoney.com/cancel to get started. That's rocketmoney.com/cancel. rocketmoney.com/cancel.
We're going to Scotland now, Kieran, which I'm only too happy to point out is still in Europe. We haven't technically left. We've been European football, Olympique Lyonnais, and now we're 3 stories in Scotland, and then we end in Colchester. There you go. Other pods will start in Colchester and end with the big stories, Kieran, but not us. We start with the big stories and end with Colchester. So 3 big stories in their own way. One of them heartbreakingly predictable. First of all, Celtic's finances are out, and I know you probably don't go on social media for a couple of days after you read about Celtic and Rangers' finances, but normally Celtics are quite good news, aren't they?
Yes, I mean, for complete transparency, I'm a shareholder in Celtic, as are many people, and I do that simply because it gives me slightly more access to slightly more information, potentially gives me the right to attend the AGM. I've not yet taken up that right.
Probably for the best.
But it's always an option. Always an option.
Yeah.
So they're strange. Celtic didn't qualify for the Champions League in 25-26, and that resulted in a big hit for the club. So revenue was down £24 million. Profits were down from 44 to 13 million. Celtic are one of the most profitable. I think they are, based on my thing, I think they probably are the most profitable club in the UK. Over a period of time. And that's due to the fact that they've got a significant share of the fan base of Scottish football fans. As somebody once said to me, it's a third Celtic, it's a third Rangers, it's a third everybody else. They've got a big size stadium, always sells out every week. They don't spend a huge amount of money on players, and I think that's caused some angst. So the revenue's down, the profits are down, but cash is up. And you go, hold on, how can that be the case? It's because this is the thing which annoys fans. Celtic have got £66 million sitting in their bank account on the 31st of December. And that's after playing for the Christmas party. After playing for everybody else's skin. And you can therefore understand why Celtic fans do feel aggrieved by what they perceive to be a lack of investment. Where does Celtic benchmark themselves? Well, they don't benchmark themselves against the rest of Scottish football because winning the Scottish Premiership to a certain extent is a given. And given that they have won, 13 years out of the last 14, whatever it is, you can understand that to a degree. They benchmark themselves by being able to qualify for the Champions League and being able to pit their wits against some of these clubs that we've just been talking about as far as UEFA's competition is concerned. If they're hoarding all of that money and the club says, oh, well, we need to do that. No, they don't, by the way. They don't. You don't need to have £66 million in a bank account. By all means, have a bit, but 66 million, that's a bit excessive. So that's where we are. A big hit because Europa League, as we've established, is worth so much less money. That also hit profits, but it didn't hit cash because they've not invested to the extent that the fans would like. And when I read the press release, it was, we've signed this player, we've signed that player. You've not paid a lot of money for them, mate.
Yeah. There's a strange similarity between football fans and the Charities Commission. The Charities Commission don't like charities having too much money in the bank because it means they're not spending it on the charitable institution that they're meant to be doing. And football fans are exactly the same. The whole point of money is, you ask 99 football fans out of 100 what the point of money is, they'll say buy players.
Exactly.
Simple as that. This idea, a rainy day, it's raining every day. Just buy players. The story about Motherwell's main sponsor is a strange one, Kieran.
Yes. G4 Claims Limited, owned by somebody called Nicole Rudder. Nicole Rudder, and I quote, is a colourful character.
Oh, dear.
Owns a castle larger than life. All of these comments
she is, or the castle is.
Well, I think she is.
Oh, she's larger. Okay,
she's a larger than life character. Yes, they are the front of shirts, but they used to be the short sponsor, and they're being wound up for unpaid tax.
Oh,
so if you want to go and buy a castle, if you want to be wacky, you want to be lovable through the way that you conduct yourself, I go, your life, your choices. Not paying tax is a bit of a tossy thing to do.
Yeah.
Because that affects us all. So it looks like there's been a winding up order. They've gone into liquidation, and of course this could have a knock-on effect for Motherwell Football Club. We don't know whether or not they have paid for the totality of the front of shirt deal for 25-26. If they haven't, then Motherwell become an unsecured creditor, and they will be behind lots of other creditors, and could end up getting a very small proportion of what they're owed.
Oh, I mean, if you're going out for a quiet drink with a couple of mates, Kieran, nothing makes your heart sink quicker than one of them saying, "I'm bringing my colleague along. He's a bit of a character." You go, "Oh, Christ, is he? Yeah, he owns a castle. Oh, God, that makes him interesting. How?" Unfortunately, Kieran, Scotland also means our traditional weekly trip to Hamilton and our traditional weekly announcement of more bad news.
Yes, 3rd points of deduction of the season. It's a further 6 points. We were aware that there's a conflict between the company that lent money to Hamilton, I think, to pay the November wage bill. They've taken advantage of their position. We've had the Hamilton owner on saying things are not great, they're a long way from being out of the woods. The wages weren't paid on time in December. Now, that's pretty awful because we all know as family people, as people that enjoy Christmas, December is a really tough month. And you are, to a certain extent, on an individual basis, you are robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Sure.
And I've always accepted, I've been quite fortunate that I've normally been paid a week early at Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's good on the 23rd of December. By the time it gets to the 2nd of January, you're going, it's not good. Yeah. Well, but because you've committed yourself to not pay people on time in December is bad. So as a result of that, Accies have been given a further 6 points deduction. I think that takes it to 21 now, if not more, for this season. And they're doing okay on the pitch, but it does indicate that still a long way to go before that club can have the clarity and the certainty that the fans deserve.
I saw the press release that the owner, I presume it was written by the owner, but I saw the Hamilton press release, which I was quite impressed by, I have to say, but I'm not an Aki's fan, because the press release basically took it on the chin and said, we knew this was coming, the wages weren't paid, the rules are quite clear, it leads to a points deduction, the SPFL had no choice but to do this, which I thought was the best way for him, but then also went on to try and reassure Aki's fans that things were getting better. So let's hope that is the case. Finally, Kim, I mean, my heart goes out to Colchester fans. We dangled the possibility of Brazilian and Italian magic in front of them last week, and now we're undangling it.
Yes, the potential deal involving Alexandre Pato has been terminated. If you take a look at the accounts of Colchester United, they've lost around about £40 million over, not in a single year, over the years. And again, this is sort of reflective of we have now become immune, in my view, to the extent of the losses. Fans just sort of go, yeah, it's cost of doing business. But, Colchester are losing 70 grand a week, and it's being kept up by the owner, who, fair play to him, he's put his money where his mouth is. There's not a good relationship between him and the fans, even though his company effectively keeps the lights on, because the fans are just fed up. They feel he's now doing the bare minimum until he finds a new owner. The reasons for the deal not proceeding are uncertain. One could only presume that there could have been add-ons, or you couldn't agree a final price. What is the appropriate price for a football club that isn't making money, has a loyal but ultimately limited fan base, and where you can go from there? So, we often say that football in this country survives because of the bigger fool theory. And what I mean by that is that even when a club gets into a precarious position, there's always someone else willing to take over. Is this indicative of that long line of people starting to slow down?
That's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Don't forget, you can now join our Price of Football Club, where you will get ad-free listening, access to our full back catalogue, that's a new one, bonus episodes, Zoom quiz invites, and much, much more. Just go to priceoffootball.com and click on Join the Club to sign up today. If you have a question you'd like answered on the show, email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, you can find us on YouTube, and if you want to buy our books or a Price of Football t-shirt, go to that very same website, priceoffootball.com. We'll be back on Tuesday with our next questions pod. In the meantime, I shall hand you over to Mr. Kieran Maguire for his customary farewell.
Well, thank you to everybody, as always, for all the different ways that you support the show. We do try to interact. We do try to answer as many questions as we can on social media, because we're nice guys.
We are. We're lovely guys.
And there are ways that you can support the show. Look, everybody and his wife has got a subscription model out at present, and there's a limited amount of cash. So we're incredibly grateful for those of you who are in the club, and we believe that we offer you something slightly different, and we enjoy it as well. But if you can't do that, could you give us 30 seconds of your time? Just pop along, go to your app, and give us a review. It helps us in recommendations. It helps us in the charts and so on, because that's the way that Apple and Spotify roll. By all accounts, doesn't matter what you say. I've been looking for reasons which even I can't fathom out at the United States Railways over the course of the last 150 years. And you could even therefore say you would rather have the show presented by Casey Jones, who is a steaming and a rolling, and Susie Dent, who will probably explain what a steaming and a rolling actually means.
Do you know what? I hadn't given that the name Casey Jones any thought for the last 35 years. And now I won't be able to get that blinking song out of my... Susie Dent's always in part of my head, I have to say, but that blinking, I won't be able to get that song out of my head.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, you rat. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The price of football. The price of football.